Randumb Rants. Like and subscribe. See, back in my day, we followed rules. Rules were there. We didn't ask who created these rules, we just followed them. That's how it was. And a rule in black cinema, how it goes, if you have a sitcom that's deemed classic, then you would have to have classic episodes. It's just rules. It's how it goes. And in my household and in your household, Martin was deemed a classic sitcom, right? Y'all remember? Y'all remember? Cool. So we on the same page, right? So I think with that, right, being said, it's safe to say that this episode is one of those classics from the sitcom. Oh, you guys remember it, right? The Romantic Weekend, season 3, episode 24. Like I said, I mentioned this in a video previously, and I wasn't really going to touch on this because I have a personal story. Well, we'll get on that at the end, but I'll just touch on it briefly, just so you guys can know. It's Randumb Rants, right? And my best friend, whom I've known since before YouTube existed, so his name is Barry Baines, let's just say, right? My best friend Barry Baines, he got married. And he actually went to Chilligan's Isle, right? For his honeymoon. And at the end of, this episode breakdown, of course, I'm going to share his experience and whatnot. At least what he allows me to share, of course, because it's his honeymoon, of course, right? But yeah. So you guys just stay to the end, and we'll go, through the behind the scenes of Chilligan's Isle, I should say, right? It's Randumb Rants. That's what we do, right? But let's start from the beginning of the episode, right? And we have Martin and Gina. They're chilling, having a wonderful evening. And Tommy and Pam walks in. They walk in and they have a, they're excited, and they announce, today's our 6-month anniversary. We're celebrating. And yes, you see the poon hound. He's finally settling down. Right? 6 months at least, right? And Gina wants to propose a toast to Pam and Tommy's 6-month anniversary. And Martin don't care. He's watching the Jeffersons. Yeah, he's off his rant mode. He's doing what I do, right? And he's telling them, no, this is the episode where Wheezy thinks George and Florence was knocking boots. He wasn't moving on up. He was pushing on up. Now, big rants. I've seen every episode of the Jeffersons, right? And that episode does not exist, okay? However, Wheezy did fire Florence in season 6, and I'm going to touch on that in the Florence episode, okay? But nonetheless, let me just stay on topic, okay? So now you see Tommy showing off, okay? He's in his Mac Daddy Denzel mode, of course, right? He talking about, yeah, Pam, you're the love of my life. Like a sweet-smelling sunflower, you blossomed in my heart. And Tommy bought her a ring, right? And they announced that they're going on a trip. Right? Tommy's like, yes, we're going to stay in a nice, quiet room close to the ocean. you know, off his real romantic poon hound. You know, he's the man though, right? He's Tommy, you know. And Gina's blown and she feels some type of way, right? She's like, Martin, we haven't been to the ocean in a long time. And Martin's like, that's not fun. I don't want to go to the ocean and see Pam catch fish with her mouth. You know, Pam's like, look, you ain't going to spoil my mood. My baby Tommy scheduled us a horse and carriage, dog. She said it just like him, too. Y'all seen the episode, right? And Tommy like, yeah, baby, actually, they are picking us up outside now. Let's go, let's go catch that. And they get ready to leave, right? And Martin's like, what, they waiting downstairs? Pam, don't you speak horse? Like, call them, And Martin tells Gina, we should do something special. Forget that. Forget watching TV on the couch. Let's watch TV in the bed. And of course, this makes Gina even more upset. And she looks out the window, right? And she yells, goodbye, Pam. Goodbye, Tommy. Have fun on the horses. And it's so funny because you can hear the horses in the background, right? And she's like, yeah, I'm going to be in the house doing nothing as usual. And Martin hear that. He like, Gina, you got a problem with me? Gina like, look, I'm tired of staying home. We stay home every night. And I ain't never been on a horse and carriage ride in my life. Martin like, good. I mean, it's not like horses and carriages come through the hood anyway. And then Martin, he in rant mode. He's watching Andy Griffith, And he's telling Gina, she's mad, but he's telling her, like, this is no brothers in Mayberry. And I'm thinking, like, Martin, like, are you a real ranter? Seriously? Like, who do you think Andy Griffith is locking up? Like, who do you think he's locking up? Seriously? Like, let's not act like, I mean, come on, season 7, episode 26, Opie's football coach was black. Like, seriously, we're not about to sit and play that it wasn't no black people in Mayberry. Opie had a black football coach. Come on now. Who else you think gonna teach him how to run the ball? Seriously. And you gotta remember, Martin was probably high. Y'all gotta remind me. I gotta do a rant on the episodes where Martin is clearly high out of his mind. I promise y'all I will get that. Y'all just gotta remind me. Okay? Because he was probably high watching this. Because clearly there's black people in Mayberry, but I'm clearly off topic. Let me get back to the actual sitcom, right? So in the next scene, we see Martin and Tommy playing checkers. And Martin's telling Tommy, Gina's been mad at me lately. And Tommy's saying, well, maybe you guys need a change of scenery, Martin's like, what you mean? I just got the cabinets painted. Which is a fact. You see the cabinets right there. Then I got a screenshot of the cabinets in season 1. So yeah, he did. That was a change of scenery. Martin's like, look, that was expensive. And Tommy's like, nah, man. Look, me and Pam, we going away for the weekend, and that's when Pam and Gina walks in. And Gina hands Martin the bag of groceries and whatnot. She's like, here's your TV guide, here's your TV dinner, and there's the TV. You're set for life. Clearly having an attitude because she just heard Pam brag about her upcoming vacation the whole time they was out, And Tommy asks Martin, where's Cole at? Martin like, I don't know, I think he was in the back on the phone. And we see Cole come out. He's on the phone, right? And he's talking to Big Shirley. They making plans. He's like, yeah, all right, I'm about to come pick you up with your big scrumptious self. Cole got that game, right? And he like, yeah, I'm about to go pick up Big Shirley from football practice. Then we're going to go on a vacation this weekend. We're going to go to a curly fry convention in Chicago. And Gina's like, hold up. Tommy and Pam, y'all going out? Cole, you going to Chicago for a curly fry convention? And Cole lets her know, like, me and Shirley, we got these tickets for free. We work at the airport. But I do have a hookup if you don't mind flying with lab monkeys and whatnot, And of course, Martin, he's like, man, we ain't flying with no damn lab monkeys. And Gina, she says under her breath, look, I like monkeys. And remember she say that. Remember she says that, okay? She likes monkeys and wild creatures, okay? Remember she said that, right? Fine, right? And Tommy and Pam, they like, yeah, we should be leaving too. And Pam's throwing it in Gina's face. She's like, yeah, you right, Tommy. We got to get our airline tickets, our passports, our traveler's checks. She like, Gina, you ain't know nothing about that, huh? And Gina just looking all sad. And Pam feels bad about it, of course. And they leave. And Martin tells Gina, hey, boo, I got a surprise for you. I was thinking, we should go somewhere. I've been planning this for a long time, and I wanted to surprise you. Then he shows her the cereal box, right? And Gina declines. She's like, I'm not hungry right now, Martin. I'm jealous of my best friend. That's something every woman has to go through, right? And Martin tells her, no. Look at the back of the cereal box. I'm taking you to Chilligan's Island. And at first, Gina's like, come on now. How good could a trip be, from a cereal box, right? And Martin tells her, like, no, the cereal box provides some of the best trips. You just got to buy the cereal. Then he reads the accommodations. Look, they have a deluxe suite, some 5-star restaurants, 4 pools, and Gina is convinced. She's excited. Although it's a cartoon, in a cereal box, I can't wait to go. And Martin lets her know we're going to need 10 more of these box tops before we're on our way. And I do have I have one of these cereal promotions, of course, from Chilligan's Island, of course. But it's from the 90s, actually, now. Honey Nut Cheerios. You guys see it? Yeah, you guys see it. It's Randumb Rants. Now, be mindful. You do have to get certain vaccinations before you can go on Chilligan's Island. Okay? And I guess that's going to be explained in the next scene, right? Because you guys you've seen the show, right? Saw it already, right? And you guys remember in the next scene, you see the plane is landing. They touching down, okay? And you see Martin and Gina arrive to Bungalow 8. You see the dancer and the bald man talking about, welcome to Chilligan's Island. And Gina goes into a panic attack and starts to cry. But she snaps out of it and she's like, well, this can't be the champagne suite. And the bald man is like, oh, yes, it is. And Martin is like, this ain't no damn champagne suite. This is the gin and juice room. Gina said, well, where's the jacuzzi and the beachfront view? The bald man said, you must have saw the cereal box ad. That works every time. And Martin's like, well, what happened to all the stuff you said, that you had in the brochure? That's false advertisement. Bald man said, no, it's not. See, you have your mini bar, which was nothing like it was just about a quarter bottle of Bacardi Superior. He was like, follow me, follow me, follow me. You have your lovely view, and you have your international communication system. And Martin immediately, he threatens violence, because that's what Martin Payne does. And Gina stops it. She's like, hold on. When does the next plane leave off this island? And the bald man says, 3 days. And Martin demands a refund and squares up with him. Dude just looks him off like, look, I got other people to check in. I don't got time to deal with you. And now they in a room, right? And Gina's like, oh, Martin, this is terrible. And Martin is trying to make the best of the situation. He's like, well, it ain't really that bad. It's besides the room, that's the only thing that's bad, I guess. And Gina's now, starting to show signs of like having an allergic reaction. In case you guys didn't know, Gina is allergic to pet dander. And she just thinks, is it a puppy in the room or something? And that's when you guys are introduced to the rat puppy. Now we have to pause the episode. I know this is a classic part of the episode, right? But I have to explain to you what the rat puppy is. Okay? Now let's get into the actual creature, the rat puppy, because before this episode, the resort didn't really acknowledge these things. They tried to keep them under wraps, but due to the popularity of this sitcom, of course, the resort has since embraced them, okay? And they now call them the mascot of Chilligan's Island, and these things can weigh up to 88 pounds, on average, right? And that's the main reason you have to get a vaccination before you can even go to this island. Because the chances of you getting bitten by one of these are high. It's high. And if you don't have your shots, the Those results can be fatal. These are rat puppies. You see the sign now. That's something that, my best friend took, but I told you, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that, right? But now getting back to the show, right? So Martin gets the chair and he tries to be nice with the rat puppy. But, that thing he scoots it out the room, but that thing takes a huge bite of this chair and he starts attacking Martin. That rat puppy attacks Martin, and it leads to, Gina jumped in and it was a big deal. Like, I don't know if you guys remember this scene, If Gina wasn't there, I honestly don't know if Martin would have walked off that island alive. I'm just going to be honest with you, because those rat puppies are serious, and luckily when Gina jumped in, it gave Martin the edge a little bit. You saw he had it. He started punching it a little bit. But even after that, the rat puppy took control over the fight. Had Martin all in the screen, the camera, like all that. Martin eventually, slams it against the door. It tried to go after Martin's throat. Like, y'all laughed at this, but that could have got extremely gruesome, But like I said, he slammed it against the door and whatnot. And you see you guys see that bite mark? Like, y'all see the bite mark in that chair? Like, you got to be kidding me, right? And, like, he tries to close the door. The rat puppy, it comes through the door like here's Johnny. Like, Martin's hand was swollen. Like, he was hitting that thing with endless rights. Swift rights. Y'all seen the damn show. And eventually the rat puppy stepped off. Like, he cornered it, right? Y'all remember he cornered it. The rat puppy stepped off. It stepped off. And now the room is a mess. And they checking for bites, of course. Gina out of breath. She like, Martin, you so brave saving me from that monster. Y'all gotta hear her. Y'all gotta go watch the show, man. You so brave saving me from that monster. And Martin looking at Gina like, look, we got to keep this on the DL. We cannot let Tommy and Pam know about this. We got to make the best of this situation. And Gina like, you fighting that monster turned me on. And Martin like, well, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you and your big head in the mood. Because I got you a gift from Hoochie's Secret. And Gina sees it and she's like, well, I can't fit this. And Martin's like, you're not supposed to fit it. And now you see she's trying to put on the Hoochie Secret gift and over her arm, right? And Martin is putting on that cheap cologne, right? And they're about to get it on, right? And Martin tell Gina, I'm glad me and you alone. This way we don't gotta see Tommy and Pam smiling. And they looking in the mirror and Gina said, you don't even gotta think about Tommy and Pam this weekend. And then they overhear some voices. Like, they hear a couple in the next room complaining. You can hear somebody saying, man, I gave you a deposit. You promised me paradise. And you can hear a lady complaining, and Martin and Gina, they lift out their mirror and they see Bald Man, Tommy, and Pam. And they all like, oh, damn. Y'all seen the show, right? And then y'all remember in the next scene, you see Tommy and Pam, they walking in the room, right? Pam like, what y'all doing here? And Martin like, I don't believe you, Tommy. You so pressed out, do me. You a ladies man. You the poon hound. First you steal my coupon idea. Then you get your bloodhound to locate me. And Tommy says, look, y'all just tried to show what's up, man. And Martin gets defensive, like, look, you not the only one that can show your lady a good time, Baldy. And Tommy, he ain't even play. He was like, look, well, I can afford a horse and carriage. And Martin was like, well, it's cheaper for you. You got your own horse. Tommy like, look, we not about to waste no time with y'all. Me and Pam, we about to go hiking. We got excursions. And Martin and Gina like, look, what you mean? We about to go jet skiing up Chilligan's Falls. And it turns into a big competition and they rushing to get out the door first, right? And in the next scene, you see them coming back from the excursions. They're all exhausted. And both the ladies' hair, this messed up. And apparently we find out that Martin tried to hike and climb a mountain with those sandals on he's been wearing all episode, which is crazy, right? And Tommy is saying, he's like, Martin, y'all was out there trying to outdo us. And Martin kicks him out. He's like, look, y'all can leave, okay? And when we get back to Detroit, Me and Gina need some space from you guys. Okay? And Tommy stops him like, hold on. Martin, it's a puppy behind you. And yes. And I know you guys are probably thinking, we was watching the show, right? That's the same rat puppy. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. But we will get on that, right? That was not the same rat puppy, right? Nonetheless, though, right? Pam goes smack at this rat puppy like I've never saw before. I mean, she sees it and just starts attacking this thing, right? Hitting it with mean combos, right? But then it gets in Pam's head. And Martin jumps in. He tagging it like Sugar Ray. Like just right. Bobbing and weaving, hitting it with the right though. Constant jabs, right? And they eventually toss the thing outside. It's a rat puppy though. And the rat puppy jumps right back. Martin hits this thing. Y'all got to go watch this. Watch the episode. Martin hits this rat puppy with a 80-piece combo. Okay? Apparently, he was a boxer in the DMV, right? Before, he became what he became, right? Martin hit this rat puppy with an 80-piece. A 80-piece. And they tossed it. And at the end, Martin, Martin telling Pam, look, no matter how much we fight, at least we got each other back. That's important. They out of breath. Pam like, man, please. I had to. That thing outweighed you. And Martin was like, well, I know it was hard fighting a family member. And, they was about to fight, of course. But the show ends, of course, with Martin and Gina in bed. Chilligan's Island. They have the same funky clothes on that they had all damn day. Okay, they done traveled in these clothes. They done went on excursions in these clothes. Martin done fought the rat puppy twice in this outfit, right? Still got the same outfit on. And because they stink, rat puppies sense that. They sense smells and stuff like that, right? Y'all not about to make that room stink and think the rat puppies ain't gonna sense that? No. Man, that rat puppy flipped the daggone bed over. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the same rat puppy that Martin attacked in the early episode. I mean, earlier in the episode, right? Because the second one that you saw, well, let's just get, because that ended the episode. Now, this goes into my best friend Barry Baines' wedding right now. I had the honor, okay, I was blessed with the honor to be the best man in his wedding, right? And I remember as he was planning it, he was telling me, I think I'm going to take my wife. I think I'm going to take her to Chilligan's Island, And I'm like, well, Barry, Martin and Tommy, they already went. It isn't a good place to go. And you guys remember the show, right? They said they needed passports, I guess, right? And I guess you guys want to know where is Chilligan's Island located, right? Well, it's located on the island off of Bermuda. See, Chilligan's Island is now known as Cooper's Island now. So look up Cooper's Island, Bermuda. Yeah. And we're going to get into all that, right? But let's get back into the actual story, right? So he was like, yeah, I think I'm going to go to Bermuda, Chilligan's Island, He's a big Martin fan. He's a bigger Martin fan than me, Rants. I feel like I'm the biggest Martin fan. He's a bigger Martin fan than me. And I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea, but, can't really, a hard head makes a soft bottom, as my grandfather used to tell me, right? And let's just say that's the lesson learned in this story. So they get there, right? And he takes pictures and everything, right? You guys can see this is the updated champagne suite. Now, I want you guys to remember, Martin and Tommy, they went in the 90s, right? And this resort actually almost closed down, but the Obama administration gave them a lot of money, right? And apparently that money got laundered and whatnot. And I guess this was the time where they was promoting it again. And around that time, my best friend was getting married. Barry was getting married. And he took him up on the offer. And I mean, like I said, he went. And he was basically ripped off just like Martin. You guys can see the new and improved champagne suite. It kind of looked better when Martin was there. You see the view. You guys see the view. Oh, don't even let me get started on the 5-star buffet. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Now, let me explain to you the whole Chilligan's Island spill, right? This place is actually expensive. Okay? 2 months out of the year. February and November. Yep. Any other month, it is rat puppy mating season. And that's why it's dirt cheap, and that's why they promote it on the cereal boxes and everything. Yeah, Barry got a good deal. And I'm going to tell you, you see he ate at the buffet and everything, and him and his wife, they end up, catching food poisoning from the food. I didn't want to mention this, and I'm sorry, Barry, I didn't want to mention this. But, I don't know. He said he avoided it. Right now, the locals on that island, they actually indulge in, they eat the rat puppies. They do. And some of that stuff, he said they had random stews in the buffet and whatnot. And, he ain't eat everything. He picked over some stuff. But like I said, I tried to warn him, don't go. But like Grandpa Rants told me, a hard head makes a soft tail. And in this case, a hard head made a soft tail on the toilet because they got food poisoning. And thank God he didn't get a divorce, because he almost got a divorce. See, his wife ain't the biggest Martin fan. Only his best friend is, me. We're Martin fans. Your wife don't really mess with Martin like that. She did not have the best time. I'm sorry, Barry. I'm sorry I had to put this out there. And they went during mating season. Mating season. But all good things must come to an end. In this case, bad things. Because during, the pandemic, this place was shut down. And now, the rat puppies have taken over the island. Good luck trying to even go there now. They taking over the island, who's hunting them, besides the native people. But nonetheless, though, Randumb Rants. Like and subscribe.